President Trump participated in the national Thanksgiving turkey presentation at the White House and pardoned both turkeys Gobble and Waddle. And then, like everyone else he pardons, they were both rearrested on weapons charges.
Okay, I'm waiting for the comedy or the jokes. Sure. Whatever. And welcome to Thanksgiving Eve. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka sitting in for my buddy Chris Plant. Happy Thanksgiving Eve to you and yours. And if you're already off, good for you. God bless. I know we're being told, because I've been monitoring the media, we're being told that this is the busiest travel day, tying yesterday. It's the busiest travel day of the year. So pack your patience. And if you're a CNN viewer, you're probably being told to pack your pot. We'll talk about that as well. There is a gigantic push to just drug America. And as a recovering marijuana user for more than 4 decades, I have been recovering. I maybe 3 decades. Yeah, okay, 3 decades. As a recovering marijuana user, I realized the folly of my past, and I'm just happy to say that it's not part of my regular daily intake of any kind of substance. I will have a glass of wine or maybe the occasional bourbon, but this drugging of the American citizenry is really disturbing. A study out of Ohio earlier this year showed that somewhere between 30 and 40% of the people driving to work, not driving home, not on the weekends, having a good time, driving to work, 30 to 40% of those people were using some kind of cannabis, were driving under the influence. So I'm sorry, CNN. I don't think this is appropriate. I don't think what you're doing. We'll get into it. We'll break it down because early this morning on CNN, they had a journalist from the Wall Street Journal talking about the latest in terms of adding marijuana to your Thanksgiving feast. It's just disturbing. And yesterday, the president pardoned the turkeys, the presidential pardon. It's a lot of fun, right? President Trump was having a whole bunch of fun pardoning turkeys yesterday. My favorite part, though, you're probably thinking it's the Nancy Pelosi part, right? No, not the Nancy Pelosi part. When the president went after Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and saying he was going to name the turkeys Chuck and Nancy. It would have been funny. I get that. I think that is clever. But that was not my favorite part. No, not even close to my favorite part. My favorite part had more to do with the president taking a couple of shots at verbal shots. Calm down, Democrats. Verbal shots at the Illinois governor, the corpulent Illinois governor. The president was I think he's very natural in these situations. And he was given some heat to the governor of the state of Illinois and saying that basically, hey, if you invite us to come in, we'll fix it. We could make Chicago a comfortable and safe place for everybody. The president was obviously very upset because of what happened recently in my old hometown, Chris's old hometown, with the horrific attack on a young woman who was riding the L train and was burned horribly. Donald Trump not pleased about it and telling people so.
We saw all the crime that took place last night, the night before. The woman with the burning, they burned the woman. To be talking about that now, they burned this beautiful woman riding in a train. A man was arrested 72 times. 72 times, think of that. And they'll let him out again. The liberal judges will let him out again. But we're ready to go. We've been moving toward Chicago. We have a governor that thinks it's wonderful that only like 7 people were killed this week. But we are moving toward doing, and we're going to, if crime gets, it's horrible what's happening in Chicago. We could make Chicago a safe city in a period of 4 weeks. In a period of 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, it would be totally safe.
I know he's right, because we've seen it happen in places like D.C., where, by the way, Mayor Bowser not going to run for a fourth term. We'll get into that. But the president was obviously very emotional about what's happening in Chicago, and the fact that the mayor of the city of Chicago and the governor of the state of Illinois are just saying no. No, there's no problem here. Never mind the smoldering body of a girl screaming and she's being taken to the hospital. Never mind that nobody jumped in to help until she managed to get off the train. Never mind that.
And the people of Chicago want us to go there. And if you look at the crime that's taken place in Chicago in the last 2 weeks, just take a look. It's on the front page of every newspaper. It's out of control. The mayor is incompetent, and the governor is a big fat slob.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Although I think the corpulent governor of the state of Illinois may be taking one of those GLP-1 drugs. He looks a little smaller based on what I'm saying, just a teeny tiny bit smaller. The president yesterday, as I said, during the pardoning of the turkeys, he talked about needing to lose a few pounds himself, though.
I'd like to lose a few pounds, too, by the way. And I'm not going to lose it on Thanksgiving, I can tell you that.
He's so normal. He's just like the rest of us. Yes, I think we'd all like to lose a couple pounds, but we're being honest with each other. It's not going to happen on Thanksgiving. Not going to happen on Thanksgiving. The ceremony at the White House yesterday with the president speaking very passionately, but also, I think, speaking very openly and honestly to people when he talks about what his administration wants to do, especially as he is the president for all the nation. Chicago doesn't get a carve-out. California doesn't get a carve-out. And we should talk about Louisiana, too, because the police superintendent in the city of New Orleans seems to be pushing back against any help the National Guard may be giving. But I gotta wrap up with the president talking about the Illinois governor.
He ought to invite us in, say, please make Chicago safe. We're going to lose a great city if we don't do it quickly. Make Chicago. We'll do the same thing as we did in D.C., the same thing as we did everywhere we've gone.
Everywhere.
All the crime that took.
And we're seeing results in Charlotte. We're seeing results in other parts of the country where this is happening. But you're not going to see it in Chicago unless and until you allow the National Guard to come in and help. And I hope that happens. I truly do. As a child of Chicago, it breaks my heart. And I do monitor all the time. If you want to see the actual hard stats, I know the president said it's on the cover of every newspaper. Not necessarily so. The Chicago papers aren't exactly rushing to cover the crime in the city. But there is a website that covers it every single day. It's called HeyJackass.com. It's subheadlined as Illustrating Chicago Values. So November, which we are the 26th day, there have been 21 people shot and killed. And that's including the tree lighting mass shooting that happened over the weekend. We've had 105 people shot and wounded, which is just crazy. 24 homicides, so not everybody died from gunshot wound. There were other homicides. But this is where I go for hard data every single day on Chicago. And maybe the mayor and the governor would be wise to visit it as well. We have much going on today. As I said, we will cover so much of the craziness from the last 24 hours. We had the continuing outrage from Democrats over the president saying that there are 6 Democrats, elected officials, who have committed sedition, or their video appears to be inspiring what could be seditious behavior by members of the military. One of them being Senator Kelly, We'll get to Senator Kelly, who made an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel's show last night, because he apparently covered all of the friendly mainstream media spots on CNN and MS-13 Now. I think that's what we're calling them now. I believe that's the correct name, MS-13 Now. I think that, because MS Now just doesn't make any sense, but MS-13 Now makes sense. So we'll get into Mark Kelly's appearance with Kimmel last night. And there used to be a media personality. I think I remember. It's not that long ago. It's a while ago that she had a show and was paid millions of dollars from MSNBC named Joy Reid. And at one point she was a respected, using the Chris Plant approved air quotes with my fingers, a respected member of the liberal journalistic community. She seems to have found a big jug of crazy juice and is drinking it constantly, day and night. And she appeared with the very, very bizarre Jennifer Welch, who the Democrats, I guess, have anointed her as their female answer to any conservative podcaster of note or any podcaster who supports Trump. Doesn't have to be Rogan. He's not exactly a conservative. He's a free-thinking podcaster, because he'll wander around to a lot of different places. But this Jennifer Welch seems to have been given the crown of the person the Dems have chosen to lead them in the next 11 months in the run-up to the midterm elections. And Jennifer Welch and her conversation with Joy Reid just defy any real explanation. They defy any real reality. And we have to share some with you. I don't know if we could play all of it, because the ladies seem to be, well, they don't have any real constraints on their language. But I'll share with you some of the really crazy and outrageous moments. President Trump flew to Mar-a-Lago yesterday. He and the First Lady and the family will be having their Thanksgiving at Mar-a-Lago. That doesn't mean the president isn't working on getting a peace deal done between Russia and Ukraine. It looks like things have moved in the positive direction in the last 48 hours. Secretary of State Rubio indicating that. The president dispatching Steve Witkoff to meet with Vladimir Putin. And possibly there will be a meeting between President Trump, Zelensky, and Putin, if and only if there's a deal. Zelensky wanted a meeting. We hear he called and requested a meeting with President Trump. President Trump saying, no, not until there's a signing. And I think he's correct to do that. So we'll see what happens there. But some of the president's comments from the gaggle aboard Air Force One are kind of interesting. We'll share those with you. And since it is a holiday, we will be celebrating the dumb things that Democrats say, because they do say some of the dumbest things. Eric Swalwell, he's in Congress, but he wants to be the governor of California. He's also out there saying some really ridiculous things. There is just a host of stupid that we have to share with you. So you're welcome to join us today. You can be a part of the conversation. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. It's Mike Opelka sitting in for my buddy Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show. It is The Chris Plant Show. Chris has the Thanksgiving holiday fully engaged. It's Mike Opelka sitting in for my friend. Honored to be here always, every single time. Love this audience. And thank you for checking in. You're welcome to be part of the show. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. We will be playing throughout the show some of the idiotic things said by Democrats, because, frankly, we have a segment for it, including a nifty introduction.
Yes, they were actually elected, but when it's least expected, those Democrats say the darndest things.
Yes, they do, and we'll be hearing from some of the usual suspects like Jasmine Crockett and Eric Swalwell And James Carville, even though he's not elected, he's still a Democrat. He still says the darndest things. We'll get to those. But every now and then the Democrats surprise us, don't they? Every now and then members of the Democrat Party, especially those in the media, will say things that actually make sense. And one such person is Bill Maher, who regularly surprises, and then he falls back and becomes a total liberal jackwagon. But Maher the other day talking about Thanksgiving.
It is a real shame what's happened to this holiday, which used to be all about the good F's, food, friends, family, football, fun. And now it's you. You're not even invited because you voted for the wrong person. I'm so tired of liberals ghosting half this country. Conservatives do it too, but not nearly as much. Look, whoever's doing it, it's got to stop.
Good. Good for him for waking up a little bit. That's good. I'm still not looking forward to any of the conversations with my liberal family members or friends, although it could lead to considerable savings around the time of purchasing presents for Christmas. So maybe politics should be brought up. I'm not sure. What do you think? Let's check in the phones. Donna calling from Frederick, Maryland. Happy Thanksgiving, Donna. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Well, hello, and happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. I'm avoiding that, I'd say, spicy conversation this year, and I'm grateful for it. And I'll tell you why. Speaking of spicy, President Trump's speech, and I'm going to put this in quotes, the fat-shaming elements caught me by surprise. But the interesting thing about it is that, besides being amusing, he got our attention. And that conversation, I promise you, will be circulating throughout multiple households. I feel particularly empathetic to you because that part is not going to be fun. But there was so much more in that speech, so much more about prosperity and the economy. And the left, they want to shoot everything, make everything negative. We're all miserable as company, that kind of thing. I'm the reverse opposite. I'm just going to say, no, we have to be positive. We're going into a new year. We're going to elect the right people this time. Maybe finally we'll deal with what actually happened in the last elections and all the methodology with Dominion and Smartmatic and all that nonsense. So I just want to say I think there'll be a silver lining with that speech, and it was very intentional, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Donna. Great points. And some of the president's speech touched on sort of a rebirth of religion, a faith lift, if you will. I'll share some of it with you just around the corner. It's Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show. It is the Chris Plant Show on Thanksgiving Eve. Mike Opelka sitting in for my buddy Chris Plant. I'll be here Friday as well. I hope you'll join us. We have a lot to get to today. I'm sure that the cut sheet, as long as it is, it's just overwhelming. We're going to have, like Friday, we'll have leftovers. See what I did there? It's a little Thanksgiving theme to this. If you are already starting your Thanksgiving preparations, or if you just have something to share, you're welcome to join the conversation. 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625. Jasmine is on the phones. Michael Piercy doing yeoman duty here today. Appreciate everybody who is participating. As I said, we have a lot to get to because Democrats rush to cameras to say dumb things, and it creates a mountain of clippage for us to talk about. And they are the usual suspects, of course, the Eric Swalwells, the Jasmine Crockett's, Jazzy Jasmine Crockett. There are others, though, who do dumb things that we will talk about. One of the most stunning things I've seen, and this comes on the heels of the announcement this week, because there were stories saying Doge is gone from D.C. forever. When I saw the headline that said Doge is done, I thought, wait a minute. Does that mean the swamp has won? If Doge is done, and I think Elon Musk has pushed back and saying no, Doge is still there in some way, shape, or form. I just think it got taken out of the spotlight because Elon wasn't there so much. And if Doge is still there and operating, that's a good thing, because that means maybe the investigations into the waste, fraud, and abuse will continue, which will save us a lot of money. Look, the tariffs, and I hope they are continued. I hope the Supreme Court gets it right, and Trump's tariff policies are allowed to continue. The tariffs will be helpful. But you know what would be very helpful? Us not sending money to bad and stupid things. And I go back to about, I guess it was about 5 or 6 months ago, when there was a hearing in the Senate that infuriated me. And as I was hearing the stories about Doge going away, I thought, wait a minute, what about that hearing? What about that Senate hearing with Senator John Kennedy freaking out when he discovered that after the election, after Donald Trump was declared the winner of the election, for the next 76 days, the Biden administration and their cronies were busy taking your money and just shoveling it out the door. It was in the billions and billions. Just this one little exchange really infuriated me. This Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana.
It's rare that I'm speechless. But I want to be sure I understood. The people running the Department of Energy for President Biden's administration shoveled $93 billion, not million, $93 billion out the door in 76 days, and it just happened to be the time between when President Trump was elected and President Biden, their boss, was leaving.
Now, think about that number. $93 billion. This is one department, one agency inside the U.S. government. This is before USAID was closed down. But this is the Department of Energy taking $93 billion. What could we have done with $93 billion? If you just sent it equally to states based on population, you know you could do a lot with that. 93, that's more than $1 billion a day. That's probably the hardest work those people did in the entire 4 years of the Biden administration. But wait, there's more.
Is that right?
It is correct and distasteful. Confidence undermining.
So you're telling me that the Department of Energy, in the 76-day period before their boss was going to leave office, gave our own money to entities that had no business plan?
Correct.
No financials?
No financials.
Correct.
My God.
Yeah. Secretary Kennedy made speechless a guy who's frequently ready to give you a brilliant clip or quip. Speechless. He was talking to Energy Secretary Wright, the guy who'd been in there about 5 months, started snooping around and going, holy cow. All that money, in my opinion, should be clawed back some way, shape, or form. All those people should be culpable. All of those people should be charged. I know we've got the DOJ doing all kinds of things, going after these seditious six who are out there, led by Senator Mark Kelly. But when someone inside the Department of Energy was allowed to shovel $93 billion out in 76 days, I'm sure some of that is still in the pipeline. And there's no Department of Energy pun in that. That was one of the more stunning things. That's why I'm hoping the Doge entity still remains. Parts of it are somewhere embedded inside Washington, D.C. That really infuriated me. I was very upset about that. And that was from almost 6 months ago, Senator Kennedy saying that. So let's hope Doge is still there. Doge is embedded inside D.C. President Trump, as I said yesterday, pardoning the turkeys, making sense, and talking about faith. As I said, there's a faith lift going on in America, something that we desperately need. Although the left would tell you that we don't need it, that we should be going away from faith. They're not normal people. They would rather you're stoned and worshiping their demons, the satanic sculptures or statues in the basement of the Minnesota State Capitol and the Temple of Satan that are being put up in schools for Satan clubs, because that's what they want. But President Trump yesterday at the pardoning of the turkeys talking about how Christianity making a surge in America.
But we have more people working. We have more people praying. The churches are coming back. I don't know if you've been reading that story, but religion is coming back to America. Some people say, oh, why would you mention that? To me, that's a big deal. And this Thanksgiving, we're also making incredible strides.
Yeah, so we've got more people working. The percentage of the population that's working. Look, are there job layoffs? Is there a shift in America's business, how America does business? There are manufacturing plants that are continuing to be built. Cheryl Atkinson, the great journalist who has her own independent program, and each week she puts out a show that's on par with 60 Minutes in its heyday. Cheryl Atkinson's show Full Measure was talking 2 weeks ago about all of this money you're hearing about, the 17, 18, 19, 20 trillion dollars of investment into America. It's not just going to miraculously show up one weekend and rebuild plants. No, that takes time. But starting almost immediately next year, we should be seeing some of the benefits from the increased manufacturing in this country. As car makers are coming to America, South Korean car makers, German car makers from all over the planet, not just the American auto industry, but car and truck manufacturers are coming and building plants in the South. We should be seeing steel manufacturing increasing. We should be seeing all kinds of production coming back, reshoring to America. So you're going to see it, but you're also going to see AI, which will change the face of the workforce in America as well. You're going to see AI. There was a report out of China last week about a Chinese automotive plant that the president of Ford visited that really had no incandescent or fluorescent or LED lighting inside this massive plant. And it's because it's all run by robots. So you don't need to light it. He said he got a chill up his spine when he saw this. Yes, there will be a shift in jobs due to AI. But there also will be jobs that are created. When the internal combustion engine created the automotive industry, guess what? The people who made horseshoes for a living and put horseshoes on horses, the farriers, their business dried up. But if you learned how to turn a wrench, you could be like my buddy Jimmy, who's got a car repair shop that brings in millions of dollars a year because he's got a whole bunch of people fixing cars right now. It's all about paying attention instead of walking with your head down. But this waste, fraud, and abuse that we exposed under Doge needs to be dealt with. I'm not the only one on this. I'm not the only one who sees this. I know that. 888-630-9625. Jeff is in Herndon, Virginia. Hey, Jeff. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Michael. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on. Yeah.
My pleasure, sir. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So great. We have many things to be thankful for. And one of them is this great fight ahead of us. But we've got so much great material that you guys constantly get out there that we can use to say, you see why this is broken? Because these people operate this way. You know, they hate the truth. They want their power, and that's it. But, you know, Michael, my point with this, I mean, you're bringing out so much, and I just love the anti-Doge. You know, the Doge is over. We're past it rhetoric from the left. It's just another propaganda campaign to try to disarm and get the Republicans and the conservatives and basically just Americans go sit back in her couch and start clicking the remote again because we're past it, and we haven't even started, I think, in illuminating everything about this money that has been used, against the American public. So, I mean, it's just amazing to me that we have had so much money flowing out of this country, and every knucklehead congressperson and even senators that, find a cause and they can send money out, and they figured out, I'm pretty sure they figured out how to get that person who's receiving the money in, let's say Ghana, maybe, to turn that money around and send it right back to the Democrat/communist insurrection coffers to work against us. I mean, this has got to be the explanation. If you look at that Tennessee race where you've got an absolute, crazy lady, hateful, anti-American, anti-Tennessee lady running for a congressional position in a very red section of the state, and she's got $1 million already. Where is that money coming from?
Well, where it's coming from. It's coming from Act Blue. It's getting funneled by the DNC through Act Blue and distributed to places they think they can make a difference. And we're going to play some of the crazy stuff that this lady has said, because every single day we scratch just a little bit more on the surface, and the most insidious statements are being made by this woman. I'm hoping to hell she has no chance in getting elected, but we'll share that with you. I do think, Jeff, as crazy as it sounds when you brought up, what country did you bring up there and you said the money coming back from?
Ghana.
I think Somalia is maybe the worst from what they've done in Minnesota, and we'll cover that, because you have police chiefs in Minnesota who are speaking to the Somali people in the Somali language. You have Ilhan Omar, who keeps talking about her country, and it's not America. And then we find out about the food scams in Minnesota, and the millions, the hundreds of millions. There's just a case where a judge threw out a jury's verdict that convicted people of scamming millions and millions of dollars from the federal government. And the judge threw the case out. A jury found them guilty in under an hour. So we'll have to keep our eye on that. I'll give you an update on that. But thank you, Jeff. Excellent point. I want to get one more call in here. Garrett in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Hello, Garrett. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning. I've been listening to everybody talking about turkey prices and Thanksgiving prices. This whole affordability thing seems to be a big gimmick, because I was listening to the Fox Business, and they were talking about how much housing is up, like $1,200 a month. I mean, to talk about turkeys and 20 cents a pound plus or minus, and try to make you feel good, that's nothing compared to spending an extra $1,200 a month on housing. I could buy a lot of things with $1,200 a month and a lot of turkeys.
Well, that's true. But Garrett, you may be comparing a little bit. Yes, you're right. Food costs are one thing. Housing costs, I think, are a separate issue. And there are several things that weigh on both of those costs. If we're to look at housing, the cost on housing there's a market supply and demand issue there. And as the vice president brought up when asked about the cost of housing, he talked about 25 million people being added to the country over the last 4 years, puts a strain on housing and drives costs higher. And if you combine that with the cost of mortgage money, that also is driving the cost higher. So there are things that we can control in both of those areas. We can stop the flow of illegals into this country, which we have, and we can get rid of a lot of them, which we have, and then we can push on the lowering of the rates at the mortgages. You're not going to see the days of 3%. I think our mortgage is 2.7% that we got like 12 years ago. You're not going to see that anymore. But both of those affect the cost of housing. The cost of food, well, a lot of it's related to the cost of fuel. As you see gas prices go down, you see the cost of food to transport food goes down as well. And there are some talk of the tariff issues, and I'll get into some of that because the President of the United States has been granting exemptions to important products like chocolate. And why? Because we don't have cocoa in this country. So taxing or putting tariffs on cocoa specifically hurts manufacturers like, say, Hershey, who can't normally get cocoa in this country. More on that coming up just around the corner. It's Mike Opelka. You want to join me? 888-630-9625. I'm here today and tomorrow, Friday, on the Chris Plant Show. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plant on this Thanksgiving Eve. I can't believe first hour is already in the bag here. We have so much we have to get to. Yesterday, rumors were swirling around D.C. One of them about FBI Director Kash Patel. And there was a rumor that President Trump was going to be showing him the door. It appears that's been debunked. Kash Patel also spoke with Catherine Herridge, who has her own independent program, straight to the point. Catherine Herridge asking Kash Patel about the rumors that we heard for the last couple of weeks about the FBI and Thomas Crooks, the guy who tried to kill President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. And Kash Patel seems to be holding to the story that Crooks acted alone.
Just to be clear, did Thomas Crooks act alone?
Yes, based on the evidence that we have, that is the conclusive finding of the matter.
That is the conclusive finding of the matter. I still want to know more. I still want to see all the documents released, all the information, all of those alleged accounts on different and bizarre social media sites have piqued my curiosity. And I want to know about the reports, the claims of bank accounts in other countries. I'm a big fan of Kash Patel. I'm glad he's where he is. Doesn't mean I don't want more transparency. All right, first hour in the books. You want to join us, you can. 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625. It's Opelka in for Plant. Happy Thanksgiving Eve.